This is our village, over 300 households. Before, when you went out into the street, you would always see elderly people and children chatting. It was lively, but now you can walk around the whole morning and not see a single person. There's no one left. Recently, more and more videos have surfaced showing the northeastern provinces of China becoming deserted. These are the provinces of Heilongjiang, Jilin, and Liaoning. A person who works in finance described the current situation in Harbin, Heilongjiang province. Harbin is supposed to be a new second-tier city, but why does it feel less lively than a third-tier city? I was chatting with a colleague from the finance and tax industry today, and I asked him, have you noticed there are fewer and fewer people now? So many apartments can't be rented out. Where did everyone go? The streets are empty, the malls are empty, the restaurants are empty, and even the lady selling vegetables at the farmer's market said there's no one around anymore. So where did all these people go? Why are they leaving Harbin? Is it because business is so bad that everyone went back to their hometowns? Or maybe wages in Harbin are too low and they can't find decent jobs? But if people are really leaving Harbin, then where can we go?
Take
a look at this. Suihua Heilongjiang. Every house in the village is empty. They're all gone. Look, no one's left. They've all moved to the city to work.
One blogger said that rural areas in the northeast have become empty.
No one's left. Really, no one's left. Rural northeast China is truly deserted now. Houses like this are everywhere in the countryside. Fellow villagers, take a look. Smoke no longer rises from most chimneys. In 10 villages, maybe 1 or 2 homes still cook meals. This used to be one of the largest villages in Heilongjiang. Now there's barely anyone left. Friends, do you know where this is? The older generation said this place has hundreds of years of history. It once had tens of thousands of residents, but now the once bustling main street is completely silent. Many people left to make a living. There's a saying, "There's no place for me in my hometown, but my soul cannot rest elsewhere." To all who left Heilongjiang, how are you doing? Do you ever think of coming back home to the northeast? Your hometown welcomes you to visit.
On October 26, a video taken at Mudanjiang railway station in Heilongjiang showed only a few passengers waiting. The person who filmed it said, "Young people aren't getting married or having children anymore. It's really worrying." The 3 northeastern provinces have long been known as regions with severe population loss. Statistics show that in 2024, the total population of these provinces dropped by 821,000, with Heilongjiang seeing the largest decline. This trend has continued for many years. Over the past decade, Heilongjiang's permanent population has dropped from 38 million and is now about to fall below 30 million. Many cities in Heilongjiang used to depend on natural resources, but as those resources dried up, like the coal mines in Hegang, local industries began to collapse, and people had no choice but to move on.
I really don't understand it. You can find people from the northeast all over the world, yet the northeast itself cannot keep its own people.
One blogger explained why Heilongjiang is losing so many residents.
More than 6 million people have left Heilongjiang. Who's abandoning this place? Reports say the province's population has dropped by 6.46 million in the past 10 years. The number is shocking no matter where you are. Even Russia's Far East, with its vast land, hasn't lost that many people in a decade. In Harbin, those old alleys that used to be packed with people you could barely turn around now have rows of empty houses. 63,000 people have left just like that. And look at Qiqihar, a century-old industrial city. It's lost 1 million people, the equivalent of an entire mid-sized county disappearing. Why are young people leaving? My cousin drives a taxi in Daqing. A couple of years ago, 8 out of 10 passengers he picked up were heading to the train station to catch a southbound train. Last year, he sold his car and went with his wife to work at an electronics factory in Suzhou. What he earns a month there is more than half a year of driving back home and about having kids. My neighbor, Nurse Zhang, works at a community hospital. She said last year the number of babies delivered in the entire department wasn't even as many as 1 month's worth 10 years ago. It's not that people don't want children, it's that the young people are gone. Those left behind are mostly elderly, and they can't have kids anymore. In the end, the cold weather isn't the main reason, it's the empty wallets. Take Jiamuxi in the east. It used to rely on state farm industries, but now young people would rather work as security guards in Hainan than to do the same farm work at home. Behind this population loss is the reality that countless families are voting with their feet.
The rise and fall of the Northeast can be seen clearly through the changes in Heilongjiang's smaller cities. For example, Hegang, a coal-producing city, couldn't repay its maturing government debt in 2019 and 2020. It had to undergo financial restructuring. As people and industries left, property prices plunged. Houses worth only tens of thousands of yuan became common. But even with prices that low, no one wanted to buy, and the city turned into a ghost town. This phenomenon has even earned a nickname, Hegangization. In recent years, as China's economy slows, unemployment has soared, and people's savings have dwindled. With weaker purchasing power, more and more cities across the three northeastern provinces are seeing homes sold at rock-bottom prices. Recently, on Chinese social media, homes in Jixi City, Heilongjiang, went viral for being so cheap, just 153 yuan per square meter. My goodness, Jack Ma was right back then. Houses really have dropped to cabbage prices. Homes are going for just 153 yuan per square meter. Yeah, you heard that right. A single month's salary could buy you an entire apartment. If that's really the price, then we could all finally afford to settle down. No one would ever have to worry about buying a home again. Another blogger, though, gave a warning.
Would you really dare to take this kind of deal? Some people call it a paradise for those who just want to lie flat. 30 or 20,000 yuan, and you've got yourself a place to live. But people who've been there say it's a trap. These apartments are all in the suburbs, 40 to 50 kilometers from downtown, and they're all on top floors with no elevators. You'll end up paying 300 to 500 yuan each month just for heating. The worst part is, this isn't even the norm.
Although a local real estate agent claimed that this was only an isolated case, public data shows that in Jixi City's Hengshan district, some properties are indeed priced below 100,000 yuan in total, just a few hundred yuan per square meter. Jixi is located in southeastern Heilongjiang. Official figures show it's one of the underdeveloped cities in the northeast, along with Hegang and Shuangyashan. By the end of 2023, the city had a registered population of about 1.6 million. On Chinese social media, many videos show villages and towns across the northeast that have become completely uninhabited. One video shows a person driving through Liaoning province and passing a deserted village. Only overgrown weeds and broken bricks and ruins remain. The villagers, the person said, have all vanished. Another blogger filmed in Zhaojiatun, Huludao, Liaoning. He called it the largest empty city in northern China.
Can you believe this? This abandoned town once had tens of thousands of residents. People used to call it Little Shanghai of the Northeast. It once had hospitals, schools, even a railway station. Now it's nothing but an empty city.
The same situation exists in Jilin province. A blogger exploring the mountains there found an abandoned town with dozens of apartment buildings and only a handful of elderly people living inside. You could just pick any building and move in. No one would stop you. This is a place we found in the Northeast that time has forgotten. Decades ago, it was full of life. Now it's abandoned. These apartment blocks, once filled with workers and their families, are now empty. Out of dozens of buildings, only a handful of elderly residents remain. This used to be the Fenjing Machinery Factory outside Jilin City, which later became the Songyuan Washing Machine Factory. In Hengge City, Inner Mongolia, near Heilongjiang, one blogger said she got a house for free. I got this house for nothing in Gunhe. Come here, I'll show you. This is my place. Let's go inside. Here it is, about 20 square meters. I built my own stove and a 4-meter-long heated platform. It's like a tatami area, with 6 mattresses and 2 quilts. The tent stays really warm, and there's even electric heating. Life's not bad out here. I've got a projector, so I can watch a little movie at night, make tea by the fire, and crack some sunflower seeds. Some people online mocked the Chinese government's so-called plan to revitalize the Northeast, calling it nothing but empty slogans.
振兴东北都他妈10年了
They've been talking about revitalizing the Northeast for 10 years. Revitalize what? Everyone's already left. The combined birth rate of the 3 northeastern provinces isn't even as high as a single province elsewhere. What's left to revitalize?
The Northeast was once China's heavy industrial base, but its decline is closely tied to the failure of the Chinese Communist Party's state-owned enterprise reforms. In the past, the region's grain, steel, timber, coal, and electricity were continuously sent south to support the rest of the country. But by the 1980s and 1990s, the Northeast was facing multiple crises: exhausted mineral resources, unbalanced industrial structures, struggling enterprises, falling profits, and a lack of replacement industries. The state-owned enterprise reform that began in September 1997 was, according to the CCP, meant to establish a modern corporate system. The first industry to undergo reform was textiles, with measures such as debt-to-equity swaps, government funds for technical upgrades, public listings to raise capital, and policy-driven closures and bankruptcies. Later, other sectors were restructured as well, leading to the creation of massive state conglomerates like China National Petroleum Corporation, China Petrochemical Corporation, and Baosteel Group. By the end of the year 2000, the CCP declared the reform basically complete, boasting that most large and medium-sized state enterprises had established a modern corporate system. But in reality, these reforms mainly benefited the political elite. State-owned firms turned into monopolies, corruption reached unprecedented levels, and wealth became concentrated in the hands of a few powerful figures. Millions of workers lost their jobs. Officials' figures show that between 1998 and 2001, 25.5 million employees of state-owned enterprises were laid off. Many struggled to survive, and the economy of the Northeast continued to decline. In October 2000, China State Council announced a policy to revitalize the Northeast. Massive government funding briefly revived the region's economy, but since 2014, the three northeastern provinces have all experienced a steep economic decline. When provincial GDP figures were released in the first quarter of 2016, the three provinces ranked at the very bottom. In that same year, Chinese scholar Chen Xingjie pointed out, "The reason for the Northeast's decline is simple. The state-owned enterprises have drained it dry." An article widely shared online criticized the region for deep-rooted corruption, saying that collusion between officials and businesses had long been rampant. Talented people began leaving the Northeast, while incompetent bureaucrats who cared little for the public continued to work hand-in-hand with corrupt businessmen and local gangsters. In fact, the population crisis in the Northeast began as early as the start of this century. In the 1990s, the net outflow from the three northeastern provinces was about 360,000 people. But between 2000 and 2010, that number surged to 2 million. In 2016, Zhou Jianping, an official from the National Reform Commission, who was responsible for the region's economic restructuring, told the Financial Times, "Most of the people who leave are the elites, managers and key technical workers on production lines." A man named Liu Dalu told the Financial Times that he left his hometown of Dalian because it was nearly impossible to find a job without personal connections. He said, "About 60 to 70% of my high school classmates have already left, and none of them plan to come back."
I'm a kid from Baoqing County in Heilongjiang. It feels like for people like us, leaving this black soil is the only way to have a future. My mom used to tell me, "Son, you have to study hard to get into a good university, so you'll have a chance to build a life in a big city."
One young man said, "But as young people leave, their aging parents are left behind with no one to care for them. Many of those parents were employees of state-owned enterprises who follow China's one-child policy, meaning they have only one son or daughter." During the 2016 National People's Congress, General Secretary Xi Jinping once again called for the revitalization of the Northeast. He repeated the same message during his visit to the three provinces in September 2018. In June 2019, then-Premier Li Keqiang also urged efforts to strive for the comprehensive revitalization of the Northeast. On October 27, 2023, Xi Jinping chaired a meeting of the Politburo to review new guidelines on revitalizing the Northeast. But after all these years, the so-called revitalization has remained nothing more than empty talk from Beijing's top leadership. Before the 2025 Chinese New Year, Xi Jinping visited Liaoning province. During his trip, he told local officials to push for the comprehensive revitalization of the Northeast and emphasized that the party's leadership must be upheld without wavering. State media showed scenes of streets decorated with lanterns and banners, portraying Xi as a leader deeply loved by the people. Meanwhile, they ignored the nationwide economic slump and the ongoing decline of the old industrial cities in the Northeast. Commentator Chen Po-kong told Radio Free Asia that the Northeast has now become one of the poorest regions in China. Many residents there complain that since Xi Jinping came to power, the central government has provided little to no financial support. Industrial output has continued to fall, population loss to other provinces has been severe, and the overall population has sharply declined. The birth rate has dropped to the lowest in the entire country, falling by as much as 30% each year. Local governments are running chronic deficits, and with Beijing's funding drying up, the region can no longer rely on any meaningful aid from the central government. In early 2021, a retired high-ranking CCP official revealed to overseas media that discontent was spreading inside the party, especially in the northeastern provinces of Heilongjiang, Liaoning, and Jilin. There, resentment toward Xi Jinping was reportedly widespread. The insider said many in the Northeast believe Beijing's refusal to offer favorable policies or development support stems from Xi's personal grudge against Bo Xilai. They believe Xi is sacrificing the Northeast because of his feud. Bo Xilai had once been the heir apparent chosen by former CCP leader Jiang Zemin's faction. Before moving to Beijing in 2004, he had spent 20 years in Liaoning. In 2012, after the Chongqing incident exposed a failed coup plot between Bo and Zhou Yongkang, both were purged by Xi Jinping. The political turmoil that followed coincided with the collapse of the economy in the Northeast. Starting in 2013, Xi's second year in power, financial and policy support from Beijing to the three provinces actually decreased compared to other parts of China. Reports from Caixin noted that from 2013 onward, the region's economy began a cliff-like decline. Beyond the economic downturn, and the plummeting birth rate has become another major part of the population crisis. According to the newly published China Statistical Yearbook 2025, Shanghai, Jiangsu, and Tianjin have the lowest birth rates in the country, below 5 per thousand, even worse than South Korea and Japan. One blogger remarked, Northeasterners are becoming an endangered species. These numbers shocked the whole country. Experts say the birth rate in the three northeastern provinces is now lower than South Korea's. Can you believe that? Last year, fewer than 380,000 babies were born across the entire region, 180,000 in Liaoning, 98,000 in Heilongjiang, and 97,000 in Jilin. Together, that's fewer births than in one southern city. Even scarier, 820,000 people left the region last year alone. Heilongjiang's fertility rate is now just 3.2, worse than South Korea's 4.26. Another resident shared, People keep saying the Northeast has a low birth rate, but honestly, I didn't really notice. My kid's kindergarten still feels full of children. But then I talked to my mom, and she told me that in our village, only our family has had a child in the past 10 years. I heard my uncle's family is expecting a baby next month. That makes just 2 in 10 years. Meanwhile, most of my grandmother's generation is gone. What's surprising is that it's not just the Northeast anymore. Shanghai, Jiangsu, and Tianjin now also rank among the provinces with the lowest birth rates. This shows that China's population problem is no longer confined to the Northeast. It's a nationwide demographic shift. Behind this crisis lies the lasting damage caused by the CCP's strict one-child policy, implemented decades ago. Chinese media reported on October 7th that it has been 4 to 5 years since the last national census, and China's population structure has changed drastically. The population decreased by 850,000 in 2022, by 2.08 million in 2023, and by another 1.39 million in 2024. 3 consecutive years of decline. China's population decline has become more noticeable in recent years, COVID-19 pandemic. Under Xi Jinping's leadership, the Chinese authorities enforced an extreme zero-COVID policy. Harsh lockdowns and mandatory quarantines destroyed normal family life across the country. And when restrictions were lifted at the end of 2022, it triggered a deadly wave of infections. The number of deaths surged to 11.1 million, far higher than the number of births, pushing the population into an even faster decline. This man-made disaster deepened China's long-term demographic crisis. The pandemic also worsened economic uncertainty and life pressure, further weakening young people's willingness to have children. Many have given up on having kids entirely, discouraged by high parenting costs and a bleak outlook for the future. As a result, China now faces a rapidly aging population, a shrinking labor force, and a collapsing pension system, all of which are eroding consumer vitality and the country's financial stability, threatening the very foundation of the Chinese Communist Party's rule.